I don't like the real world, at all. I've probably mentioned this a few hundred times before. It's tedious, it's dreary, it's dominated by morons, nobody can fly, and all the dinosaurs are dead. Seriously, this place. I go to movies, play video games, watch TV, and chemically induce altered states of consciousness in order to get away from the real world as much as I possibly can. That being said, I still acknowledge that reality exists and is important. It's like the dentist. It sucks, you don't want to go, but if you don't, you're going to end up looking like Amanda Bierce in Fright Night. The thing is, acknowledging reality is still a total bummer because none of the things doing so requires you to accept are good news. The reality of reality is chaos. The universe is vast, cruel, and random. It doesn't give a damn about right, about wrong, or about you. Bad things happen to good people, bad people are met with success, disaster can strike at any moment for no reason, and no amount of good intentions or generous deeds is going to make you impervious to an asteroid strike. Maybe you'll be rewarded in heaven if you believe that sort of thing, and maybe an all-powerful supercomputer could, in fact, calculate the percentages to the point where nothing was truly random, and I'm not going to call anyone wrong about either of those, but here in the physical world, so far as even the smartest human brain can calculate, the basic overriding truth of reality can be summed up in two words. Happens. Except we don't like hearing that, so we glom onto, or invent our own, ideas of higher powers or greater meaning, because they're more comforting than the far more likely reading of reality that bad things can and frequently do happen without any reason or justice. But in an increasingly modern world, more esoteric fantasies of universal order offer less and less comfort, and so we have conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are basically the modern-day secular version of old-time nature mythology. Just as our ancestors needed Thor to be sending down lightning in order to make lightning seem less random and terrifying, modern man imagines complicated webs of connection and intrigue to make sense of the senseless. To take the most famous example, the idea that the most powerful man in the world, with a beautiful young wife, brave ideas, and youthful idealism to boot, can be struck down by one lone nut with a gun? That's too scary to process. So instead, our imagination insists that there must be some greater evil at play. Evidently, any order, even evil order, is preferable to the chaos of reality for some. To use another, of the two options, which theory about the Iraq War do you suppose scares people more? That there's a shadowy cabal of evil corporate interests led by a 60-something heart patient manipulating an entire government into a war for phony WMD, but then somehow forgot to plant the evidence? Or that the most powerful military intelligence presence in the history of the world was simply gullible enough to be fooled by the make-believe macho posturing of a third-world gangster? Be honest now. If they were the only choices, would you rather believe the conspiracy that you're being led by a brilliant villain, or face the reality that you're being governed by an idiot? The WMD thing provides the most useful example of why most conspiracy theories are baloney, namely that it breaks down in the face of simple logic, i.e., why would they knowingly fake the whole thing except for the most important yet easiest to fake part? This can also be used to refute those, charming folks who are convinced that President Obama is some kind of Al-Qaeda Manchurian candidate because his middle name is Hussein. Think about it. If militant terrorists were going to put a sleeper in high office, they'd use a guy whose middle name was Smith. You know, like how Lawrence Harvey wasn't from Manchuria. Oh, and did you hear the one about the California violent games ban? Yeah, apparently because the movie industry resides largely in Los Angeles, then Governor Schwarzenegger worked in Hollywood. That means they're all working together to pass anti-gaming legislation because they're worried about video games taking audiences away from movies. Now that makes diabolical sense, right? Well, it does until you remember that the older audience movies likely to split an audience with M-rated games isn't where Hollywood makes most of its money. Hollywood makes most of its money on all-ages family films. If The Governator was part of an LA conspiracy to impede gaming's market share, they would have tried to ban Wii Play. Conspiracy theories, like any act of fancy, are a way we both escape from and pretend to make sense of the chaos of the real world. And while no one appreciates escapism more than me, once in a while you've got to wake up and take your bearings. The moon landing wasn't faked. Oswald shot JFK. The former vice president is not a member of Spectre. The president of the United States is not a spy from Kenya. Global warming is real. Kindergarten Cop did not put a bureaucratic hit on Master Chief.
Yes. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to get back down to the hidden sub-city and resume reproducing asexually to keep the stormtrooper supply up to snuff. this winter skin isn't gonna shed itself. I'm Bob, and you should have listened to David Icke.